Hey y'all, welcome to Gadfly, the podcast about third parties, fringe candidates, and just generally weird American electoral history. I'm Dusty Wilson.
I'm Una O'Leary.
And Una, I made a promise to you last week that the episode was such a bummer, was such a series of depressing incidents one after another, just baked in red flags, that we were going to do a fun episode. And I am making do with that promise.
You're not breaking it. Hooray!
I am not. I would usually give a bit of a lead up on this, but I feel like a lot of the funnier stuff is better when you're blindsided by it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just going to hold off on that. But yeah, we talk a lot about political ideologies that are, relatively annoying. And this guy, there are some keywords that are going to come up that are going to raise some red flags. But I'll give you a heads up right now. There is nothing to worry about. In anyone else's hands, the words I'm going to be using to describe the political ideology of this person and their party is very alarming. But for some reason, he used it for good.
Ooh. So trigger warning is no trigger warning.
Exactly, yeah. It's just like, be chill. It's cool, daddy-o. So today we're going to be talking about a dude by the name of Robert J. Healey, or I'm just going to refer to him as Bob because a lot of people called him Bob Healey. Now, he is not to be confused with the guy currently running for Congress in New Jersey named Bob Healey. Different guy.
Different Bob Healey.
Yeah, this guy is not a Republican. This is just Bob Healey. So Robert J. Healey was born in Providence, Rhode Island in 1957. His father was a plumber and his mother worked at a handkerchief factory. And I feel like that's such a strange combination of things that feel very made up if you're writing a Neil Simon play.
It's definitely a backstory that an editor would return with notes on. It's like,
I don't think there are factories
too much
just for handkerchiefs.
This is too twee. Bring it back into reality.
He grew up in the town of Warren, Rhode Island, and attended the local high school. Bob would refer to it as, quote, a typical rural childhood. He would graduate high school in 1975 and initially began working for his uncle's house painting company. In less than a year, Bob realized that isn't exactly a very fun job to do on a regular basis.
Yeah, I mean, you're dealing with weather for one thing.
Yeah. It feels to be a very thankless and difficult job. And you're constantly getting ruined by big siding.
It's also one of those jobs that, like working in a handkerchief factory, it's absolutely from a different era. Like the whole I painted houses during the summer and paid college that way.
Yeah.
Okay, grandpa.
Yeah. Anytime you hear someone who's like, well, I spent summer painting houses, it's going to be followed up by some antiquated bullshit about how they bought 3 cars with the money.
Right. It's gonna be followed up with so why can't you buy a house?
I don't know, man. Fucking tear down. Like, our generation's killed so many things. We just need to go after siding now for some reason.
I'm fine with that.
Like, we've cursed you all with shiplap and, I don't know, quartz countertops. What else can we do?
Subway tiles.
Ooh, yeah, subway. Yeah, you put those subway tiles right in the shower because, taking the L, I constantly think to myself, I should be taking a shower in this.
It wonders for people who were working from home but still needed to, feel something.
Yeah, just walk into the rainfall shower and just stand there for an hour looking at your phone.
Get a potpourri of garbage juice.
Oh my God, just wondering if you're going to make the 28 bus in time or you're going to have to take 6 and be late.
Yeah, run while it's really humid and then hop into the shower. Let a rat into your house.
Yeah. Look, that rat, if it gets in your house, there's no getting it out. That thing's smarter than you. I'm glad we've taken this Rhode Island story and turned it very local already. Yes. So Bob spends the summer painting houses and he realizes, I don't really want to do this. So he decides what he's going to do is going to a very extensive collegiate career. Now, I think, I'm trying to remember the term for it, but someone who kind of makes a job out of going to college all the time.
Oh, yes. I know these people. At one point, I wanted to be this person. Yeah.
Just keep taking government loans so you never have to pay them back because you're always in school.
There's always another master's you can get.
Mm-hmm. In 1976, he entered Rhode Island College. Within 3 years, he got his bachelor's degree in English and secondary education. So from there, he moves to Jacksonville, Oregon for some reason. I guess it's just because it was like the best job he could get.
Sure.
He ended up teaching English at a private rural school. And I was, I was kind of worried we weren't going to get enough background information on this guy because his early years aren't exactly filled with a multitude of stories. It's mostly his later life that you find out a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, all right, what private school did you teach at, sir? And so just doing some Google Maps research, I'm 90% sure the school that he taught at was the Rogue Valley Adventist School, which is a religious-based school for Seventh-day Adventists.
Oh.
I know very little about that faith. All I know is that instead of church on Sunday, they go on Saturday.
Oh, what? Okay.
Talking out of my ass completely on this, but I think it's the base of the calendar at the time that their whole thing is, you got Sunday wrong. It's the wrong day.
But semantics, all right. I would have believed Sunday is the day of rest, and we are made in the image of the Lord, so Saturday it shall be.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess God is just like, you should sandwich your time between church. Like, you get Friday evening off, and then the rest is fine.
So what are their thoughts on the Julian calendar then?
I don't know what they think about Julie. Yeah, I have no idea. Like I said, I know that's literally the only thing I know about the Seventh-day Adventist Church. But apparently they have a pretty decent school system too. And that's nice. That's just where Bob taught for less than a year. Because while he's teaching English at this school, he's also taking classes at Southern Oregon State College. And during this time, he also applies to a master's program at Boston University, which he gets into. And so less than a year after taking that job, he's off to Boston University. And in 1980, he gets his degree in reading education. And instead of going back to Oregon, he decides he's going to move back to his hometown in Warren. But you know what they say about education. Like cocaine, you build up a tolerance and you just need more of it.
He's chasing that dragon.
Yeah, he's chasing that literary dragon. He memorized the Dewey Decimal System and he needs more. And while being a teacher is all well and good, so is being a lawyer. So
oh no, yeah, truly though, it's like it's not hitting like it used to.
I could mold young minds, or I could pay rent. So he gets into the New England School of Law, which from what I could tell is like a fine school of law. It's not like super bad or super good. The current lieutenant governor of Massachusetts went there. It's not highly rated, but it's not terrible.
And I feel like it's a curve for these things. Like, so long as you're going to it before a certain year when everything just got like supersized in terms of it, like there were too many people going to law school, so it did matter where you went to.
Yeah. It's not like he's going to Western Michigan University Law and just
Western Michigan is, I will not defame Western Michigan University because and I'm blanking on the name of it now, but it's where Michael Corrin, the guy who actually got sentenced to jail from Trump's
Michigan,
where he went to law school is in Michigan, and that is the worst law school.
Oh yeah, objectively, Western Michigan University is the worst law school. I'm sure their other schools are fine. And look, I went to OU, Max Solidarity, but it is what it is. So he began classes at the New York School of Law and kind of made a regular habit of commuting there between Warren and Boston for classes.
Good Lord. Well, everything's kind of closer together up there.
Yeah, it's not the worst drive, but it's a commute. Now, I've heard law school is more than a little work to get through and can be intensely stressful. And Bob seems to have balanced this by keeping himself extremely busy whenever he had a free moment to spare. In 1981, he completed a children's book called The King Needs Sleep, about a king who can't sleep because the sun won't go down.
Cute.
The book, however, would not be published anytime soon, and we'll kind of talk about it a bit later.
Oh, no.
The main reason, though, is like Bob just wanted the perfect artist for it, and he didn't really know any art friends at the time, so he was just kind of keeping it in his back pocket for whenever he met an artist he really liked.
Oh.
In the summer of 1981, while he's in law school, Bob took a set of classes in international law and Japanese trade in Tokyo. And then in 1982, he ran to be a member of the Warren School Committee, which is like the school board for the town of Warren. And nowadays it combines the town of Warren and the city of Bristol. So he runs for school board in 1982. He ends up winning the race, which is as good of time as any to explain the way that Bob carried himself, because he ran on a campaign slogan of, quote, "a strange man for a strange job."
Oh.
And so I'm going to send you a picture of Bob Healey. Now, I would love to hear your first impressions of Bob Healey.
Oh my goodness.
Right?
He looks like what Jim Henson has used as a prototype for various like Dark Crystal Muppets.
Oh my God. Yeah.
And then he himself looks like he is the one human in a Dark Crystal era Muppet movie.
Yes. Yeah, I wrote down that he could kind of best be described as looking like a roadie for the Grateful Dead.
100%.
Like he has this chest length beard. His hair is a little bit longer and it's incredibly curly. And he wears these wire rimmed glasses. He looks. I'm trying to remember like one of the more crunchy Evergreen State. It looks like he teaches a philosophy course at Evergreen State.
Yeah, or religion at Reed.
Oh my God, yes. Like, just believe whatever you want, man. You know, every once in a while I do a midterm. The answer is to turn in a blank page.
He is totally that Simpsons character. It's like, you need to use glass, man.
Well, the thing
Plastic's going to kill you.
He doesn't even sound like that. He sounds just like a typical New Englander, but he looks like he's permanently high. I cannot find any proof that he has ever done weed, though. He just likes looking like that.
He's got a smile on his face and looks like he has 30 acres in Northern California, and don't ask any follow-up questions.
No. If you walk onto his land in Mendocino, you might not walk out, but if he's in a good mood, you'll have a great time.
Yeah. If you're invited, it's all good.
Yes. But yeah, and so this guy gets elected to be on the school board. He shows up to every single meeting barefoot.
So he is a hippie.
Yes. Yeah. So the thing, though, is Bob didn't just win a seat on the school board. He beat out 5 other opponents and was named the chairperson of the committee for his entire first term.
Oh my gosh.
And by all accounts, that was actually a really good choice because Bob was very huge when it came to transparency. Each week, he would write a weekly statement covering the state of the schools and upcoming decisions, and he made it available to literally anyone who wanted it. 1 year into his tenure, Bob graduated with a law degree, and now with a fancy degree and all the time in the world to focus on the school committee, which was paying him a full-time wage, he turned right back around and entered into a doctorate program at Columbia University in New York City.
What?
Uh-huh. And instead of resigning, Bob chose to commute between Warren and New York City during the days of his classes, which is an 8-hour round trip by car.
No.
He states that he was able to make this work with near perfection and only missed one school committee meeting due to it being an emergency meeting that was called without him knowing ahead of time.
Oh my, see, I hate this because there are days where it's like, I can't even be bothered for that last 15 minutes of the 9 to 5. Mm-hmm. This guy's out here powering 8 hours between Warren, Rhode Island.
A thing I realized I might have forgotten, he might have taken the train because the train system between New York and Boston and DC is actually very good. So he probably didn't drive it. That seems to be foolish in retrospect.
That makes, I mean, then you're able to do your classwork, whatever.
Yeah. All right. That makes a lot more sense. I'm a dumb. See, public transit is something I love, and I need to remember it exists in some places.
I know. Well, it also needs to remember it exists.
Yeah. So Bob entered Columbia University to do a thesis on comparative education, which is the study of similarities and differences of various educational systems across the world. Specifically, he wanted to study under George Z.F. Baraday, whom the National Institute of Education in Singapore called, quote, one of the greatest figures in modern comparative and international education. According to Baraday, his main goal is to break down the general forces that guided national education and open up views on international methods to compare and contrast what is effective and what can improve the education process for everyone. So that it's not just like Western education is the best no matter what, or Eastern education is the best no matter what. To really just kind of find what works really well across the board and testing those things out.
I very distinctly remember getting a little bit of like trickle down of this education method in 5th grade. I think it was like just after the peak of the Japanese economy, but I remember my 5th grade teacher being like, in Japan, everyone works on these group projects. And it's like, and they're all, I don't know, happy and successful. So we're going to be implementing more of that. And my introverted ass could not have been angrier. Like it may have installed a little bit of racism in me as a young 5th grader. I was so against it.
Just being against that idea. Yeah. It's, you know, I think we've all had our issues with group projects in general of, you know, everyone has a role. One person rides the coattails of everyone and does the least possible. One person just tries to carry that weight. And then the other 2 people are, you know, they're going to do the bare minimum, which is the lesson we should have learned.
Right. They're going to do it, but you're going to need to proof check it.
Yeah. Yeah, it really sets you up for the workplace. That's the one thing I could accept from it as like a decent thing. So yeah, if you want to study comparative education, this is the dude to study under. So Bob was able to get Professor Baraday to be his thesis advisor. Halfway through the thesis, though, Baraday would end up passing, and Bob was left trying to find a new advisor.
Oh no.
And after a bit of trying, Bob would just give up on the search and just abandoned his doctorate degree.
Oh, Bob.
And instead, he went to go get a completely different degree. He would enroll at Northeastern University in Boston, and in 1985 got a second master's degree, this time in English literature.
Ooh.
So he's racked up a bachelor's degree, 2 masters, and a law degree. His term is coming to an end in 1986, so he has the whole world in front of him. He no longer has to commute from Warren to Boston or New York City. For once in his life, Bob seemed to decide to actually take it easy. He didn't run for re-election, and he opened his own law practice in Warren with a focus on estate planning, zoning, and probate law. The most boring law you can do. It's essentially end-of-life law.
Oh, but someone's got to do it, and God damn it, Bob's going to do it.
Yeah, he seems like a very kindly person to talk about what you're going to do when you're dead.
Yeah.
Like, where's your stuff going to go, man? But Bob, that wouldn't last long enough. He seems fairly addicted to staying busy. He just can't really focus. So in the same year that he starts his law practice, Bob would hit the origin story of ever so many third-party and French folks, the discovery that the American government is corrupt and controlled by the wealthy. It's a brutal thing to realize, especially if you're an optimist, and here Bob was, coming to terms with that realization and not really liking it. And since Twitter and LiveJournal didn't exist back then,
oh jeez,
he did the next best thing and ran for governor of Rhode Island.
Good for Bob.
So there's very little info about Bob's run for governor, and I really hate how much I'm going to say this sentence throughout this episode. So there are a number of resources that I use. There's newspaper.com, which sadly is now owned by Ancestry.com, which I think is now owned by Amazon. It's fun. But there aren't a lot of Rhode Island papers that have been digitized for that. I got a subscription to the Providence Journal for a couple of months. They don't go that far back on their website.
What?
The only people that I know for sure that has deep information on Bob is the Rhode Island Historical Society, which has a whole section of collected works on Bob Healey. So if you're ever in Providence, they're kind of the people who can fill in the gaps that we're going to have here. Because I can't really fly to Providence for a day or two just to root through their papers.
Not yet, but once we get that Patreon account started up, you're going to be swimming in microfiche.
Once we get those, like, I don't know, what's that that
$5 a month.
Yeah,
years.
like AR2 beverages where it's just like, kale and vitamins. No. AG1, I think it is. Yeah, once we start getting that, I'm going to be flying all over the place looking at old papers. Yeah. It's going to be the best. Anyway.
Castor still exists, right? Right? That's
maybe. I haven't seen their
money.
I haven't seen or heard their ads in a while, so we might want to check on Casper and do a wellness check. But yeah, so there's very little info about Bob's run in 1986. But we do know he ran as an independent. But if you ask Bob, he was actually a member of a political party, just one that wasn't recognized by the state yet. In his campaign, he would be the very first nominee of his own party, the Cool Moose Party.
Cool Moose Party! What?
So the name it has two meanings, twofold. The first is that it's a play on Teddy Roosevelt's nickname for his own political party he made in 1912. We'll do an episode on it. It's just going to be a long one. So I'm trying to pace out the long ones. Officially, Teddy Roosevelt's party was called the Progressive Party. But Teddy, being a charismatic giant he was, dubbed it a name people would remember, the Bull Moose Party. And he chose this because in all of North America, there is no animal as goddamn terrifying as the moose. They're fucking gigantic. They chase bears. They can run 35 miles an hour. They charge at and fight cars. Country folk will know that when you learn to drive, if you see like a deer in a road or like a rabbit or a possum running across the road, the worst thing you can do is try to swerve to miss them. With moose, you are told to swerve or you will die. They are fucking terrifying. So it's a powerful image for a very powerful movement. And Cool Moose gets to refer to that feeling while letting you know that this moose is radical and can skateboard and lives on Sunny D, motherfuckers. But it also had a personal meaning for Bob. Back in 1985, a moose had wandered down to Rhode Island, and everyone was flipping the fuck out. Because moose, for the most part, they only go as far south as Vermont or New Hampshire. So this is a moose that walked its way through western Massachusetts and into Providence.
All out of my way, motherfucker.
Yeah, you're gonna stop a moose from where it wants to go.
Nope.
And the thing that made it even more fun is that people would call into the cops to be like, I just saw this moose. So they'd call into wildlife and tell them where it is. By the time they got there, the moose was gone and they could not track it. This thing was wily as fuck. So a local newspaper got in on the action and promised a cash reward of $500 to anyone who could get a verifiable picture of the moose. So Bob, somehow having just enough free time to do this, bought a pair of antlers, put them on, and had a friend take a picture of him walking across the street, had it printed, and then Bob went to the newspaper and demanded the money.
Okay, that's cute.
Yeah,
that's great.
The paper did not pay him, which is a crime. This was like a regular thing Bob did too. I left this out, but one of the things that Bob did is that Warren was having an issue with traffic lights. I couldn't get much information beyond that, as like I don't know if they just weren't working or the timing was off on them. So he just bought a costume of a traffic light and walked around town to raise awareness.
Again, cute. I'm into this.
Yeah, this dude is consistently cute despite the red flags that are coming.
Oh no.
Yeah, and so this little prank he did was just like, yeah, I'm the cool moose. You remember me. I fuck with newspapers.
Yeah, Mountain Dew.
Yeah. Now watch me do this, Ollie.
Yeah.
So the story of the moose is actually kind of sad, though, because eventually the moose would be found outside the adult correctional institutions in Cranston, would be shot with a tranquilizer, and they were like, all right, we're going to move this guy back to Vermont and let him go. The problem, though, is the Rhode Island Wildlife Department didn't exactly have a very good trailer for moose. And so halfway there, the moose ended up getting stressed out and died. So they stopped the truck, turned right back around, and gave the moose an official burial in Rhode Island.
Oh.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, the moose was just trying to lift some guys out of prison.
Right? He got a letter from his friend in prison who did some tax evasion but was framed. And he just wants to get him out. Oh, that'd be a fun movie. Just helping him ride up to Canada.
Yeah. What are you going to do? You're going to take on a moose? I didn't think so.
Oh, that's the end. It's like his friend is just like, Moose, you got to come with me. And then the moose just turns around to face off like the cop car. And the moose is just like, without words, like, go on without me. And it's like his friend is crying as he's swimming across the St. Lawrence.
Oh my God, this has Pixar written all over it.
Oh my God. Yeah. The first R-rated Pixar movie. It's going to be great.
Gory as hell.
Yeah, so Bob runs for governor, describing himself as the cool moose candidate. And as he puts it so bluntly, quote, I lost miserably. Yeah, Bob's not one of those people who runs for office with delusions. He knows how badly he performs.
Nice. The concept.
And look, since he's being so self-effacing, I'm going to say it's not as bad as he's making it sound. Because when I hear I lost miserably, that is like I came in last and I got 0.2%. He did not come in last. He finished third out of 4 and he got 1.9% of the vote, which isn't great, but you're self-effacing, you're not miserable.
Yeah.
That's good. So the loss seemed to squash any remaining political ambition that Bob had. So he went back to doing end-of-life law. And throughout his career, he was known as a lawyer that would work on a sliding scale and adjust rates based on how much you could pay instead of, ruining your life with bills. One year, Bob claimed that he did around 1,000 hours of pro bono work for his clients.
Mm-hmm.
And in 1987, he would be named the secretary of the Bristol County Bar Association, which is a position that he held well into the mid-2010s.
Holy cow.
The years would pass and lawyering would be done, but politics is an addicting thing. I know if I ever take that plunge, I'm doomed. I'm not going to, if I realize the exact process and how much work it takes to get on the ballot, you're never going to see me again. I'm going to become that person who runs for bullshit things all the time. And
this podcast will effectively be over.
Yeah, it's like I will never be able to do that. My room will be full of yard signs from the various different races I've done. So I'm not gonna do it. It's a bad idea. But Bob, he's got that itch. He can't tie down Bob. You can't tie down a moose. You don't have enough rope. Bungees aren't that good. So in 1994, 8 years after his initial run, he's gonna run for governor a second time. And this time around, there would only be 3 people running: U.S. Attorney Lincoln Almond for the Republicans, State Senator Mirth York for the Democrats, and then our cool moose, Bob Healey. I looked into a bit of Lincoln Almond and Mirth York. They just seemed like normal people. There's like no controversy that surrounds them. They're just people with ideological differences. So it's like, imagine a 90s Republican and a 90s Democrat doing a simple run for an office.
Yep. I'm imagining khakis. Imagining some sensible shoes.
Yeah, I think you hear the name Lincoln Dahlman in Mirth, York, and you immediately know who they are. There's nothing more I need to say. But the thing is, Bob kind of throws a wrench in all of this, being who he is. Again, there's minimal amount of info on this campaign, but this time he was officially running as a member of the Cool Moose Party. The state didn't recognize it, but he was able to be a third party without the benefits that you get from being a recognized major party. So in Rhode Island's history, the honor of being promoted to a major party has really only ever been held by Democrats and Republicans. And you get that by getting more than 5% on a major statewide race. And this kind of became the one story that came out before Election Day. So Rhode Island has a system, or at this time developed a new system for how names were going to be placed on the ballot. To ensure no party would end up getting top billing across the board, a lottery would be held to decide the order for each race. And this is a clear improvement of the old way of doing things, where whichever party the Secretary of State was in, put their party on the top of every race.
Yikes, yeah.
Yeah, it's not great, but it was the law. So you get an extra bonus if you win Secretary of State. So it is an improvement, but the problem is the lottery only works for major party candidates. So the lottery is just there for Republicans and Democrats, meaning no matter what, Bob Healey was going to be number 3 on the list.
Boo.
So Bob didn't sue, but the ACLU did.
Oh, hey. Oh, shit. Yeah. Okay.
We
got big dogs here.
Yeah. So out of nowhere, the ACLU, just looking for a lawsuit, hops in. And they would file the suit on Robert Healey's behalf and charge that all candidates should be included in the lottery. John Deneen, who led the case, stated, quote, "Mr. Healey doesn't have a right to the first column of the ballot, but he does have a right to be treated the same way as other candidates." Secretary of State Barbara Leonard disagreed, effectively saying people are used to seeing Democrats and Republicans at the top, and, quote, "it would be confusing and wouldn't make voting any easier if they saw someone different at the top."
That's shit arguing.
Look,
it's like you're basically saying the quiet part out loud too.
Look, we're all just a bunch of big old dummy dumbs, and we're risk averse to change. And like if I saw, I don't know, the Reform Party at the top of the ballot, I'd accidentally eat the ballots. I think that's just how it goes.
Listen, if a third party were above the Democratic Republican Party, then the Democratic Republican Party might not get picked. Are you not hearing what chaos could reign?
I have worked very hard for this position of supreme power. How dare you?
I know it never was, but I think in my head, in an alternate universe, there is a super aggressive late 80s commercial for Fanta that basically maps onto this argument, where it's just like Coke, Pepsi, and then Fanta zooms in and just, nunchucks both of them and gets at the top of the ballot. And then there's this guitar wailing in the background.
Love it. I love it too much. I'm going to ignore the RC Cola erasure of this statement.
Fair enough.
I will. Sure.
I should have gone with Faygo, but here we are.
Oh my God, the Juggalo choice. Oh my God. Yeah, I'm always going to defend the hillbilly soda that is RC. It is delicious, and you can find it nowhere. Anyway. So I can't find how this court case turned out. And that's because after November 6th, it no longer mattered. Because the Cool Moose Party, and I don't know if this was residual post-Ross Perot love of third parties or the abysmal turnout for Democrats across the country in 94, but Robert did well. And he did finish last, but he did so with 9.1% of the vote, which made the Cool Moose Party an official major party of Rhode Island. It made them the third largest party in Rhode Island in one election.
They're that cool. You don't fuck with the moose.
Exactly. So a third party ascent like this hadn't happened in the state since 1978, when Mayor of Providence Joseph Dorley ran as an independent party candidate and got 6.5% of the vote. The difference, though, is that Joseph had a chance to make a new party, and instead he chose to return to the Democratic Party and let his independent party just die. And fun enough, prior to that, the only third party that got even close to qualify for this was the Bull Moose Party in 1912, when Albert Humes got 10.8% of the vote.
Don't fuck with the moose.
You don't do it. Moose in there is a curse of mooses in Rhode Island. You let that poor bastard die. He was on his way to Delmarva, and he was going to have a great time. He's going to run with some horses on a beach. The thing about Robert, though, is if you give him a project, he's gonna do something with it because it's something to do. And that seems to be his life's goal. And so now that the Cool Moose Party was recognized by the state, Robert was going to sure as hell make sure that it didn't change anytime soon. And as Robert told the Associated Press, quote, anyone who gave their vote to the Cool Moose Party did not give it in vain. The birth of the party is a phenomenal thing. It's clearly an indication that the people of Rhode Island are eager for change. And in 1995, Robert would call the first ever Cool Moose Party convention in Warwick at the Community College of Rhode Island, which brought nearly 100 interested people.
Ooh.
There's an interview he did in his later years where he talked about how nervous he was about this because he was terrified that out of nowhere a group of people would show up and just try to hijack the party since there were so few people. You could get like 150 people with really shitty political opinions and suddenly become the Cool Moose Party. But luckily that didn't happen. He ended up getting 100 decent folks.
Oh my God. Although, let's be real, 25 of them were probably like RISD seniors doing it as an art piece.
Oh my God. So when asked by the Bennington Banner of Vermont how Bob would describe his party, he said, red flags. It's a strange mix of libertarian and populist policies.
No!
And look, in any other situation, this would be just the biggest red flag, and you'd put it under hydraulic press to make an even bigger red flag to like, what's that thing where things are not a continuum, but whatever.
A Mobius strip?
A Mobius strip of red flags.
Oh, no.
But after reading what the platform actually supports, I thoroughly disagree with Bob's opinion of this.
Ooh.
I think if I had to make a guess, I think the libertarian principles he really landed on were more of the social libertarian things and like kind of some of the fiscal parts, and like the populist stuff is just ideas people liked. So the platform would equal 19 pages in length. And while members only had enough time to verify about 7 pages with a promise to complete the rest in 96, the stuff they did agree on was fairly varied. For starters, the party placed universal health care at the top of their goals.
Oh.
And nowadays we know that as Medicare for all, but there are like multiple different ways. The general idea is that everyone gets health care and you don't go broke to have it.
Yeah, what a concept.
I know, right? But that in of itself is the most non-libertarian thing you can support. It's very much the government giving you healthcare.
Yeah.
So the more libertarian stuff you could see is the party's full support of LGBTQ plus rights and calling for state and federal governments to remain neutral on abortion services. So not to like outright try to oppose them, not federally fund them, to just like, hey, the law's the law, we're done.
Right.
Other planks that were approved included support for federally regulated gambling in all indigenous nations and reservations, requiring that all judges below the Supreme Court run for election every 10 years, abolishing the parole system, which feels very ahead of its time.
Yeah.
And calling for work, not welfare, for able-bodied people. Now, this is one I could see going either ways because I couldn't actually find the platform in its physical form. So I'm going to talk about worst case and best case scenario. Worst case scenario for this seems to be a trying to get rid of SNAP, WIC, and TANF benefits if you're able-bodied enough to work, and just using it as an excuse to knock that out of the budget. So, that's more of like the Republican worst case scenario of just like, if you can lean, you can clean, that sort of bullshit. But based on the other stuff that Bob has talked about, I'm more one to believe that this is more like a New Deal idea. So I tend to believe that it's more of a statement that there should be a guarantee of work for all who want it, based very much on the Works Progress program from the New Deal. It was a federally run program that offered people work during the Great Depression and into World War II. 8.5 million people were given jobs throughout the agency. Jobs that included construction of infrastructure, building libraries and schools, but also employed 40,000 artists to create countless works of cultural importance. The legacy of the WPA exists to this day in the Griffith Observatory in Los Angeles, Midway Airport here in Chicago, and the Riverwalk of San Antonio.
There you go.
So it's kind of a good idea to say, I don't know, hire people to work on infrastructure and guarantee work for artists. And
with a living wage.
It worked very well. And the only reason they stopped it is like, well, everyone's employed now, so we don't need it ever again.
Hey, also we're at war.
Yeah. Like when you combine job availability with so many people fighting a war as their job, you're going to have a pretty low unemployment.
Yeah, I feel like, unfortunately, the message the nation took away was not the WPA, but like, what if you just go to the army? Have you considered joining the army?
Have you considered considered punching Hitler. Yes, I'd like a job after punching Hitler is done.
Yes. Also, we seem to keep punching civilians.
Yeah. So that's a general idea of what Robert and the Cool Mooses are up for. And for the most part, yeah, I'm in on it. That sounds great. That all sounds pretty decent for the mid-90s.
Very decent for the mid-90s.
So going into 1996, the Cool Moose Party would be placing a sizable slate of candidates, including 8 for state representative and 5 for state senate. The challenge, though, is that since there wasn't a gubernatorial race, Robert wouldn't be there to really draw out the crowd. And on top of that, nearly every candidate that was running would mark this as their first ever campaign. The only exceptions would be Nancy Thompson, who had run for state house in 1994 as a Democrat, and John Carlovale, who was the Reform Party nominee for Secretary of State in 92 and ran for the Democrat primary for the same position in 94. A fun story for John Carlovale, he'd eventually win a race for Secretary of State. He ran about 5 times in different primaries.
Hey.
And he ended up winning the Republican nomination, I think, in 2014. He did not win, though.
Oh.
Once again, I hate to say it, I don't have a ton of info about the Cool Moose Party's first official year in politics. And like I said, you got to go to the Rhode Island Historical Society to find out anything on that. But here are some details that I was able to confirm. First off, the Cool Moose Party would enter into their second ever lawsuit. This one actually was led by Robert. And yeah, he's not running for governor, so he kind of needs something to do for the year.
Yeah.
The official suit was against the state of Rhode Island that required only members of a political party to be allowed to take part in an electoral primary. So one of the reasons for this law is to keep rival party members from interfering in primary votes of other parties, which you see that a lot nowadays. In Wyoming, that's going down, where the Democrats are asking party members to vote in the Republican primary for Liz Cheney instead of Harriet Hagman, who got the Trump endorsement.
Sure.
I am not a fan of this policy. It's I very much think parties should stay in their lane and just let things be what they're going to be. And I don't know, focus on who you're running and making sure they're good people. But yeah, that's one of the primary reasons that they do that. The problem, though, is, especially with the Cool Moose Party, Robert didn't require that people renounce party membership to the Republicans or the Democrats or the Reform Party or whoever was around in the 90s. It's like, if you wanted to join, you can join. We're not going to hold you down and say you have to only vote in the Cool Moose primary and that's it.
Oh, they're like Buddhism.
Yeah. We're Unitarians of politics. But the problem is, if you're not a Cool Moose Party member, you can't vote in their primaries. And since you can't have official members, how are you going to do it other than like one person's running and that's it, I guess? So Robert ends up suing the state for this. And the case sat in limbo for about 3 years before it was actually heard in front of a judge in March of 1999. But 5 months later, the U.S. District Court of Rhode Island would agree with Robert and the Cool Moose Party and no longer required party membership to vote in primaries, noting it to be unconstitutional.
Ooh, hey.
And so second, we have how the 13 candidates for state rep and senate did. And short story is they all finished last. Longer story is they absolutely outperformed other third parties in their first year of running. In 3-person races, Cool Moose candidates scored between 6.3 to 20.5%. Where there were only 2 candidates, they got between 15 and 26%. I'm particularly impressed by the performance of Mario Canario, which I love his name.
That's a great name.
Mario ran for state senate in the 46th district, which includes the cities of Bristol and Portsmouth. And unlike so many other people, I think I actually found him online, which means that I know that the Cool Moose Party's best performing candidate in 1996 now works for the town of Warren Public Works Department. But he is the guy in the 3-way race who got 20.5%. And
that's huge.
So many close to finishing second.
Oh my, like so many third party candidates we've heard from since starting this podcast would kill for those numbers. Double digits, baby.
They're astoundingly good numbers. But one of the cool things is that based on Bob Healey's website for one of his gubernatorial runs, I was able to find that 2 people actually won local office in 1996. The thing though is, it was, I've grown bitter and distrusting since starting this podcast, so I was kind of loath to believe what someone says on their campaign site. But there were just enough context clues that I could find out who it was. According to Bob, one of the 2 winning candidates was a woman named Sarah Schaefer, and he noted her as the first woman in Rhode Island history to win an election as a third-party candidate. And thanks to Bob mentioning that she won in the town of Hopkinton, I had just enough clues to do some deep, hard detective work, by which I mean I emailed Elizabeth Cook Martin, the town clerk of Hopkinton, and asked, is this person real?
Look at you, sleuthin'.
She got back to me and I sent it right at closing time. She got back to me the moment they opened the next day. So not only was she able to confirm that Sarah Schaefer is real, but she did in fact win as a candidate of the Cool Moose Party. She won a seat on the Hopkinton Town Council, was re-elected in 1998, and was selected as the town council president that year as well.
At that.
She would end up choosing not to run for re-election in 2000, though. And also thanks to the Lewiston Sun-Journal in Maine, we know that Hopkinton was also the place where the second candidate won. So
gangbusters in this little town.
Yeah, a third party being able to actually win anything, whether it's like in a small town or whatever, it's huge. It is fucking huge that they did that well their first year. So the election cycle would take a year-old political party and really solidify them being the third largest and third most powerful in the state. So what was Robert planning on doing to keep that momentum going in 1998? Well, first and foremost, it's a gubernatorial election year, so he's running for office.
Hey.
He would step down as party chairman and hand it over to Rui Rice, who is the owner of Firehouse Pizza in Newport. And based on Yelp pictures, it kind of looks like if you took a really shitty 90s coffee shop and said, yeah, we also sell pizza, I guess.
Well, this was 1990. Oh, wait, but you're looking at pictures from today. So
yeah, based on
so it's heyday. Yeah.
From what I read, people were just like, this place is gross. It has not been cleaned in decades. It eventually closed down around 2016, but yeah, it looked very much like a dude who's really into the Grateful Dead and Fish is gonna make you a pizza in the toaster oven.
Oh no.
Yeah. So that's the guy running the party now in 1998. Robert announced
this hacky sack come from? Why is it on my pizza?
They use hacky stacks instead of those little plastic tables.
Yes.
Keep the box from touching it. So Robert announced his campaign in his hometown of Warren and promised, quote, instead of the glitz and glitter of a pretty political package, I will work to focus the gubernatorial campaign on state-related issues. And by that he meant, quote, lowering property taxes, protecting the environment, supporting public education, bringing jobs back to Rhode Island, and keeping the government off our backs as much as possible. And thanks to his performance in 1994, Robert was set to get matching campaign funds from the state. The party had also grown to over 1,000 members.
Ooh.
And once again, the day of Robert's announcement is the last day I could find any digitized papers talking about him until Election Day.
Oh, man.
Robert would once again lose, and he came in third with 6.3%. So still enough to be a major party, but it's a 3% drop from his run in 1994. And as I said before, Sarah would end up winning re-election in Hopkinton. A third unnamed person would win a local race somewhere else. Don't know where. But where things were looking less great was the other slate of office candidates. In 1996, the Cool Moose Party ran 13 people for state rep and Senate. And in 1998, that number dropped down to 4 for state rep and no one for Senate. Of those 4, only 1 was a new candidate. The other 3 were people who had run before in 1996. So all of the candidates finished last, but were also in 2-person races for every single race they had, which meant that once again, they got really impressive results, scoring between 19 to 25%. The only recorded disappointment of the year was the race for mayor of Warwick, where Timothy Rossano finished last with 2.5% of the vote. After which he seems to have moved to Florida and has mostly just run write-in candidates for Congress. His average return of votes when he does that is around 20 votes total.
Not percent, just votes.
Just votes. 20 votes for Tim.
20 votes.
Yeah. So it's all the more frustrating that the party has multiplied its membership by tenfold, but is running so many less people for office, especially during a year that you have Robert on the ballot.
Yeah, man.
And by
Robert, the Cool Moose.
Yeah. By 2000, their few winners chose not to run for re-election, and only one person ran for office. And the guy who ran, George Bunwith, he's the only Cool Moose Party aside from Robert to run for office more than 3 times. He's running for state house for the 3rd time. He gets 23.6% of the vote. And after this year, no one aside from Robert Healey would run as a Cool Moose ever again.
No.
Now, if I could hazard a guess as to why the Cool Moose Party just faded into oblivion after only 3 election cycles, I think it's just that Robert got bored. We have a long track record of Bob keeping himself busy with multiple projects, and a whole political party is something that really needs laser focus. You can't just do it on a whim. And he handed it over to a guy that doesn't seem to value details like keeping things clean and organized.
Yeah. The man whose description in my mind conjures a bucket hat.
Yeah. So Robert could bring the charisma, but neither he nor Rui Rees could keep the momentum going after year 1. Following Bob's loss in 1998, he would start a liquor wholesale company with a friend. And after 5 years, the company was making millions. And so Bob sold his share to his friend. And now that he's not really doing the political party that much, he has decided to go on to an entrepreneurial spree of business ventures. This includes investing in land in South America, predominantly Uruguay, importing California wine to Uruguay, importing Uruguayan plateware to America, opening a wine and cheese store in Warren called the Cheese Plate, which lasted for quite some time, starting an ice cream company called Cool Moose Ice Cream.
Yes.
Opening a yacht provisioning service company called Punta Provisions that essentially delivered food to boats that were docked in the harbor of Punta del Este, Uruguay. Lending his image to a wine company to create Cool Moose, a Napa Valley red blend, and creating Healey Soda, a cola sort of flavor thing.
The Healey Soda that's going to beat out Pepsi and Coca-Cola.
Look, he's at least going to get third. Now, Robert is very forward with the fact that the ice cream company, soda brand, yacht services, and the international wine importing business failed very badly. But the Cheese Plate, like I said, lasted for quite some time, with many folks commenting on how much they really liked going, especially when Robert was there.
Aww.
He'd end up selling it in 2013, and the new owners would close it around 2016. But, this is Robert we're talking about. You know that you can't keep this guy out of politics for long. He's going to run 8 businesses, get bored with most of them, and decide, I need to run for office again. So in 2002, it's time for another gubernatorial race. But this time, Robert decided he's going to go for a different race. He's going to run for the most pointless job in the state, lieutenant governor. The duties of lieutenant governor vary from state to state. In most, the lieutenant governor acts sort of as like the vice president and presents the tie-breaking vote in state senates. Some have specific focuses on pushing policy or taking part in committees. But the main job for all is that they're there to take over the governorship if the sitting governor is either out of state or if they end up resigning or die. And in Rhode Island, the job currently has about 18 responsibilities decided by the state legislature, such as serving as the chair of the Small Business Advisory Council, appointing 3 members of the Committee on Naval Affairs, and being allowed to administer oaths anywhere in the state. But most of these duties seem to have kind of popped up in the mid-2010s. So when Robert was looking at the job, you essentially could give oaths, and your job is to sit there and wait for the governor to die or to commit a crime. And just kind of be there. As Robert put it, it's a parking spot with a very good paycheck.
It's Prince Charles right now, just waiting.
Yes. And so I couldn't find how much it paid back in 2002, but in 2013, the job paid $108,000 a year.
I would take that job. Are you kidding me?
The only other political job that I know that is just as pointless is Secretary of State of Wisconsin, where you literally have no job at all.
Wait,
Secretary of State Wisconsin does nothing. All electoral stuff is handled by a different division. All business stuff is handled by a different division. It's a job that is just, all of the duties have been siphoned out of it over time to the point that it's now just, it's a job. Here's some money.
Oh my God. I'm so mad.
Yeah.
I want this job.
It's a great job.
Cheese curds.
Oh my God. Yes. It's just, my job as a Secretary of State of Wisconsin is to judge cheese curds on a daily basis.
I go and check on the lakes.
I demand a yearly supply of New Glarus.
Yep.
So Bob decides he's going to run, not to just collect a really easy paycheck, but his sole campaign that he ran on is, if I get this job, I am getting rid of this job.
Bob, don't ruin it for the rest of us. Oh my God.
His campaign slogan was equally as simple. Imagine no lieutenant governor. It's easy if you try.
Damn it, Bob.
The thing, though, is it's a much easier thing to say that you're going to do than to actually do it. Because the one hitch is that the position of lieutenant governor is required in the state constitution. So
trickier.
Yeah, you only have 2 options for how you can actually make good on your promise. The first, more roundabout way would be to call a constitutional convention. This would mean that the entire state constitution would be reviewed and rewritten. And this has happened only twice in Rhode Island history. Once in 1942 in response to the Dorr Rebellion and replaced the royal charter that had guided the state since 1663, and once in 1984.
Oh, so recent.
Yeah. All that's needed to call a convention is a simple majority in the state house, a simple majority in the state senate, and then a simple majority of the voting public. So if the House and the Senate passed it, it goes right on the general election ballot, and the state can decide if they want that or not.
Simple.
Also, the Secretary of State of Rhode Island is required to place the calling of a constitutional convention on the state ballot every 10 years.
So there you go.
Yeah, and whether the state House or Senate approve or disapprove, if you get a majority of the state wanting it, it goes into effect. that you have to have a constitutional convention. And the state also has a law before each required vote on the convention that the government has to make basic plans and preparations just in case the population decides they want it. So they're not like caught completely blindsided by this. But if you go that route, then there's the possibility the lieutenant governor abolition just doesn't make it into the final draft because you're doing the whole freaking thing. You're focusing on a lot of stuff. So the more direct route would be to push a proposed amendment to the state legislature. You introduce the amendment to end the lieutenant governor position. State House and Senate votes on it. If they pass the idea, then it goes to the general election and the people vote on it. And if you get a majority on that, it becomes a new amendment. Dare I say, it's a good way to run a government if you want to do constitution changes.
The system works.
Yeah.
Checks and balances.
Yeah.
Seems very sensible.
All it took was an uprising of middle-class farmers in 1842 against people who were like, you have to own land to do anything. I don't know, we'll go over the Door Rebellion one day. I remember so little of American rebellions between that and the Whiskey Rebellion. All I remember is that people being like, we set no taxes, and then getting mad.
Yeah, you're already like, you already have twice the rebellion knowledge than I do. I have some knowledge of the Whiskey Rebellion.
Yeah.
That's it.
I think it was either the Whiskey Rebellion or Huckleberry Finn where I found out about tarring and feathering.
Oh, shit.
It's like one or the other. Anyway, so that's at least a way that you can go about doing it. So it's all a way of saying that Robert might want to end the position the day he gets there, but at minimum, it's going to take him about 10 months. And that's if he can convince 38 state reps and 20 state senators to agree with him that the position needs to go. Not to mention convincing the whole state. Now, I'd assume if he won, that might bode well, but since Robert is running as a cool moose, and victory would probably be trisected by the Democrat and Republican votes, it's kind of all but guaranteeing he's not going to get into office with a 50% mandate. But he did also have a plan on what he would do to at least get rid of the office in at least working. He would fire or refuse to nominate anyone for positions within the lieutenant governor's office, which by his estimations would save the state $1 million a year. So constitutionally, you can't force him to fill positions.
True. No, I'm just over here sighing, thinking like $108,000.
Yep.
Just take the money.
I know. I mean, he'd have to take 10 months of it at least. But I mean, he's doing thousands of hours of pro bono work. I definitely get the feeling that money did not matter that much to Bob Healey whatsoever. He just was lucky enough to have enough of it to try about a dozen businesses and run for office whenever he wanted.
Or exemplify the generation that did not walk away with student debt.
Yeah, he could go to 5 colleges and be fine. And wouldn't you know, we have another campaign with no digitized reporting. All I could find is that in 2002, Robert Healey very technically had himself as a running mate when he ran for lieutenant governor. Now, I'm not sure if he officially filed to be a write-in candidate for governor, but he got 42 votes for governor that year, which is good enough for him to get 4th out of 8 people. He would do a bit better as lieutenant governor, and by that I mean he got the best result of his entire political career. Bob finished 3rd with 18.8% of the vote and only finished 6% behind Republican candidate John Pagliarini Jr.
Oh, damn, okay.
And we'll be jumping real quick through time here because, say the line with me, there isn't any digitized sources existing.
What the hell, Rhode Island?
So in 2006, Robert would run once again for lieutenant governor, once again wanted to get rid of the job, finished 3rd and got 13.4%. But this time he wouldn't be that close to the Republican candidate, and he finished 20% behind the 2nd place finisher. Now this alone would give the feeling that his simple message of fuck lieutenant governor existing was fading. But in 2010, he would end up getting the best life preserver of his political career. The Republican primary for lieutenant governor would feature Heidi Rogers, who is a town councilor from Foster, and Kara Russo, an ardent anti-choice advocate who extends her fervor to banning birth control. Kara was also busy running for the GOP primary in Congress as well at the time, but Heidi Rogers would win by a 2-1 margin, and Kara lost the congressional race as well. 3 days later, Heidi would decide to withdraw her name from the ballot. And it turns out Heidi also wanted the office of lieutenant governor gone forever and claims that she ran entirely so she could step down and give Robert an easier path to do just that. After convincing the state GOP that Robert had more name recognition than she had, the state GOP gave the blessing for her to drop out and promised not to replace her on the ballot. They also wouldn't formally endorse Bob, but actively encouraged people to vote for him, which I feel is a very weak thing to do. This is something that was actually had been in the works since June, but was very dependent on whether Heidi or Kara won. Kara was very fervent that if she won, she was not stepping down.
Oh yeah, no. She was coming for your plan B.
Yeah, she is a scary person, I might say. And so this move for Heidi was actually inspired by red flag number 2, the Tea Party movement. In Rhode Island, it probably wasn't that big, but they were very fond of the idea of getting rid of lieutenant governor. And Bob's kind of a happier face that you can have. So if you want like a soft Tea Party idea, you got to go through Bob Healey, I guess.
Yeah, let's throw a teddy bear on this AstroTurf.
So for the first time in Robert's political career, not only is he a major party candidate, but he only has to face one person. He'd be featured on a brief segment on WNYC, where I really was hoping they were going to let him speak more, but it was just a sentence of him just being like, here's why we don't need lieutenant governor. It was a real bummer. He actually got to explain to the Boston Globe how he would effectively end the office, which I said he would just not hire anyone. And on election day, Bob would fall short, but he did incredibly well. He would come in second with 39% of the vote. It was the best ever finish for a third-party candidate in Rhode Island history. And following his loss, with everything on his side, I think Bob had the realization that if he couldn't win in these circumstances, and he probably never could, the Cool Moose Party's best ever electoral result would be their last ever campaign. And Bob quietly allowed the party to fold.
Wow.
So Robert returns to attorney work, mostly dealing with family trusts and wills. In 2013, he would found Peace Co., a company that planned to make a brand of Alka-Pops, which is apparently a British thing. I think we refer to them as Smirnoff Ice.
Oh,
it's like
okay.
That sort of thing.
Got it.
So he and a friend were going to be making these Alka-Pops that were going to be Latin American flavor inspired. So I imagine like tamarind and Jamaica and...
Love it.
I honestly just picture them buying a case of Jarritos and then just pouring vodka into them.
Yes.
But politics wasn't quite done for Bob Healey. In the wake of the Cool Moose Party fading away, a new third party began to emerge, the Moderate Party of Rhode Island. Founded in 2007 by software engineer Ken Block, they had become a recognized major party by the state in 2009. By 2014, the moderates were gearing up to fill their gubernatorial ticket. Ken Block had been expected to run, but instead he decided to run for the GOP endorsement and just kind of left the party. And he ends up losing the GOP primary. So he ducks out of his own party and loses. So the party ends up picking a guy by the name of James Spooner. Spooner, though, would have to drop out due to having a hip surgery that was followed by multiple complications, and he did not think he'd be healthy enough to run. So trying to figure out who would fill this automatic ballot status they have, they kind of ponder around. They're like, maybe we should ask Bob Healey if he wants to run for us. The way the story goes is the head of the moderate party at the time goes up to the cheese board in Warren and is just like having some dinner with Bob Healey and is like, hey, the reason I asked you for this, you want to run for governor for us? James isn't feeling well and we need someone. And Bob agrees to do it. As he put it, I tried to get out and they pulled me right back in.
Cute. Okay. Yep.
Yeah. The state GOP would sue to try to keep him off the ballot, but the Secretary of State would rule that the moderates had taken the correct steps to replace Spooner with Bob, so there was nothing they could do.
There you go.
And finally, Una, we have a primary source for this campaign. So Bob made a site for his run, and the Wayback Machine has kept it archived. First and foremost, for Bob's campaign, he wasn't taking any campaign donations or funds whatsoever. Nothing from the state, nothing from individual people, nothing from companies, nothing from PACs. He chose to run his entire campaign on his own money, which in the end totaled an investment of $35.31.
Hot damn.
He spent this on a prepaid mobile phone and a phone card.
What?
Yeah,
wait, are we in the in 2010 or later?
Yeah, we're in 2014. This is like he's running this like it's 2004, but it's 2014.
At most, I'm thinking like 1999 with a prepaid card.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he goes to a 7-Eleven, grabs a burner phone.
Like it's The Wire.
Yeah. I mean, I respect that. You can't set up a campaign headquarters with phones. So yeah, you just muscle past a drug dealer, grab a burner phone, and you get to work. He only put up one billboard in the entire campaign, and it's a silhouette of his face in black with a white background that he painted on the side of a house himself, facing over an interstate in Providence.
So finally, those years house painting really worked out for him.
You know what? I love a bookend. I love it when a theme comes back.
I love a button. Yep.
Yeah, and it looks really good. It's actually very well painted. So Bob would decide not to run any television ads and instead encourage people to check out his campaign blog, which I forgot to do. Sorry, Bob. He did get to take part in a televised debate, and I kind of hate to say it, but on a debate stage, he's not as fun. When it's one-on-one, you're kind of goofing with him. He's very charming and very, very sweet. But when he's describing his policy, it's kind of a snooze fest, and it really sucks. But that isn't to say that he lacks complete charisma during this debate. So probably one of my favorite parts is that in this debate, everyone is asked how they felt about a new state voter verification system that made having identification when voting completely unnecessary. And when it got to Bob asking him how he felt about that, he said, quote, "I think that it's functioning well, and I'm actually planning on going to vote without ID to see if it works." The Democrat candidate who would end up winning, Gina Raimondo, ends up laughing for a full 10 seconds, and her smile didn't go away for about 20 seconds. She's laughing during one of her answers. She's so charmed by this. But he's mostly just espousing centrist ideals, which isn't the sort of thing I get excited about. And it's just,
nope.
I mean, if you're running on the moderate party of Rhode Island, I think you have to stick with that party of just like, yeah, we're middle of the road. We're your new option.
Yeah, you can't Trojan horse a cool moose in.
No, we're the dull moose. We want reasonable action.
We are just a deer.
Yeah.
In headlights. With aggressively large antlers.
In his final run for office, Bob would once again do incredibly well. He finished third, as is tradition, but did so with 21.4% of the vote, his best gubernatorial performance. And financially, his camp. All right, so here's the fun part. Since he only spent $35.31 for his campaign, each vote that he got cost him one half of a cent per vote.
Yeah, suck on that, you billionaires.
It did. So frustrating. If I remember right, it holds the record for the least amount of money spent per vote of any major race I've ever seen.
It's amazing. Where's your checkbook now, Peter Thiel?
Peter Thiel would never. Following this, Bob would return to lawyering. In 2016, though, Bob would have a heart attack in his sleep and at the age of 58 died in Barrington, Rhode Island.
No.
Yeah. Gina Raimondo, who ended up winning in 2014, issued a statement saying that she would, quote, "miss his passion and willingness to engage in spirited debate." But of course, why would this be the end of Bob Healey's story? We still have a few more years to go. Being a lawyer with his focus on end-of-life law, Bob decided you'd kind of assume he'd have everything squared away, right?
No.
Bob's will was a 4-page letter that he hand wrote, and no one could really entirely understand it. When he died, he had about $1.5 million in assets and no immediate family for them to go to. He would name a former companion of his, Claire Boyes, as the executrix of his will, and it would take her years to see it done. She would inherit $1 million in cash, a life estate to his home in Barrington, which meant that you don't own the house, but you can live in it for as long as you want.
Wow.
A percentage of any unspoken assets or anything that wasn't in the will, she got a percentage, and some land in Connecticut. An artist named Jade Gatauco, who was the person that he decided was fit to draw The King Needs Sleep.
Oh.
She's currently fighting for the rights to the book because it wasn't listed in his will.
Oh my God.
Her drawings for it are so good too. It's very, very cute. Very, very nice.
Oh.
But she ends up getting $30,000 in a life estate to his home in Warren. His business partner in Uruguay, Natalia Machado Lemos, she was the one who was going to go into business with him to make the yacht provision company. She ends up getting $50,000 in all the land that he owned in Uruguay. And to make things even more fun, because it couldn't be Bob without a quirky little detail in the will. So on his death, he requested that he was to be stuffed and kept in a glass cabinet for 1 year after his death. Afterwards, he was to be brought out of the cabinet and propped up at a lavish party, which he set $15,000 aside to both taxidermy himself and then throw the party.
What?
No one did this because taxidermying a human in Rhode Island is very illegal. And the will didn't stipulate who would do it. He literally said, quote, "anyone willing to claim a friendship to me during my life could do this for him."
That's okay. That wording is so weird.
Yeah.
But also it's like, come on, you cowards.
Yeah.
The man's dying wish. This is how you get haunted.
Yeah. It's like, take him to another state that will do it. And
yes.
Or at least mummify the guy, at least meet him halfway on this.
Yes. Hilariously, there's an episode somewhat like this in the second season of Southside.
Yeah.
Where like the big name club promoter of Chicago dies.
The guy who owns Excalibur, I assume.
And then in his will, he's just like, the person who will take my cell phone and all my contacts and like carry out my legacy is then must like throw me the biggest rager. And he does. And then like all the characters are showing up to this rager, and the dead guy is in the corner propped up with like a bottle of champagne.
God, I love it. I need to watch season 2 of that show. The first season was so good.
So good. Second season even better.
And so this is a big theme throughout Bob's thing, is he's very bad at listing who's actually responsible for the big issues in his will. A side thing, I don't want to forget this. He did leave $500 aside to a reporter that he really liked at the Providence Journal. He left him $500 to be used, quote, for a very good day at the horse track.
That's really cute.
Yeah. The reporter was just like, I couldn't believe that he remembered telling me that he was going to leave me $500 in his will just for that. It's very sweet. So yeah, like I said, the big problem is that Bob didn't account for all the creditors and old business partners that would come forward looking for, a chunk of the money that they were owed. Because it turns out that Bob had a lot of failed businesses and a lot of debts based on those. Yeah, and which is really funny for a guy preaching financial conservatism being so abysmal with his own money across the board. Another major detail that he missed is that, yeah, Claire and Jade could live in his homes, but he made no indication of now who owned them and who was required to upkeep the home repairs or the mortgages.
Ruh-roh.
Yeah.
You kind of get the idea that, like, he just really loved, like, the exotic wording of a person living in a home.
Yeah.
And not owning it. And it's like, wait.
It also didn't help that they sent an appraiser to both of his homes and found massive issues with the roofs of both homes.
Well, of course. You don't sit on $1.5 million by spending it on things like a roof.
Water damage goes away, motherfucker.
Back creditors. Yeah.
Yeah. And so even if Jade and Claire wanted to move into those homes, it was just too dangerous for them to do it. Both of them were fine, though. Like, Jade was already living somewhere and Claire was working for the town government. So it's not like they needed a place. But
okay.
So yeah. And so now you have just two homes that no one knows who owns them. So they're just sitting there falling apart. And he also made no statement on payment of debts and who had priority. So you have all these creditors and business partners just fighting in the courts as to who has priority to this remaining money. And then there's the Correa's family trust. Alice Correa was a client of Bob's, and after she passed in 2013, he was in place of her trust funds. Family members would claim that after Bob died, they noticed $130,000 missing. When looked into, it was found to be true. Essentially, what Bob had done is he had moved money out of the trust and into his own funds. A friend of Bob would state, quote, I don't think he ever intended to steal anything, but he was very sloppy with his work. Very sloppy. He was just so busy, and that was the problem. Bob wanted everyone to be happy. He was always going. So it would take a while to untie this Gordian knot of financial bullshit. But as of April 2022, his will is still unresolved. Wow. We got a better idea of what had actually happened with the Correa family trust. So he'd been using their money and money from a longtime friend and placed that money into an escrow account called Interest on Lawyers Trust Account. He then took money from that and moved it to a shell company called Zoltan International, which oversaw all of his businesses. And businesses that Bob had planned to make.
Not Zoltan.
Yeah. It's my personal favorite was there was a restaurant he wanted to open in his hometown of Warren called Warren Buffet.
No.
I would eat so much roast beef from there if he actually opened it.
I would like the Omaha steaks, please.
Yes, I would like. I have no joke. It's perfect. On its face, it's so perfect, and I'm mad he never did it. They did find evidence that Bob had been replacing money that he took from the escrow account. He just clearly died a lot sooner than he thought he would, and he had a plan to return the money. He just died and no longer could. And so he ended up still owing both parties $385,000. They'd both agree on a settlement in 2021, though, because even the guy that he gave $500 to spend the day on the track never got that money because it was such a legal battle of everyone fighting over what he had. There were friends who were like, this is the last thing Bob would ever want. He just wanted people to have the money and be happy, and just He wrote the will so sloppy that it just created all this chaos where no one was happy. His home in Barrington was ordered to be sold this last year, but due to the property being abandoned for years, uncut vegetation, and severe water damage, no one's really that optimistic on its selling. I checked out Zillow and Redfin. It hasn't hit the market, but it's estimated to be worth $400,000.
Oh, for fuck's sake. Well, the land.
Yeah, the land. Rhode Island's not exactly affordable. And yeah. Today, the Cool Moose Party technically still lives via the Cool Moose Party PAC. It was founded in 2015 by Grant Garvin, the owner of the Neon Retrofest Synthwave and 80s Music Festival.
It's too many words.
Yes. I assume this was done against Bob's wishes since he hated PACs and campaign financing, but also Grant was a client of Bob's at one point. Apparently, Grant had been pulled over for some traffic violation. They asked to see his license. He said, "I don't have it on me." And so he went to court for that. And Bob represented him, I think, pro bono, because Bob didn't believe in driver's licenses, which might be the most libertarian thing he believed. But he also had a nice twist on it. He believed in driving papers. He believed that, yeah, you should have papers that say, "I know how to drive a car." He just didn't like the fact that your personal identification was tied up in a driver's license.
Oh, you know what? I get that.
Yeah.
It does suck, and it does leave a lot of people vulnerable.
Yeah, I hate the fact that he took a libertarian talking point and made it make sense. Make good sense.
Yep.
So the thing that I think makes it okay for the Cool Moose PAC is that Grant has never raised any money for it. He just took the name probably to keep other people from taking it. I could see that being a favor that he did. But he has been asked if he's ever going to bring back the Cool Moose Party, which he said it kind of depends, but quote, depends on many factors being explored, which I think is a nice way of saying, no, I'm running an 8-bit video game and synthwave fest. Do you think I have the time for this? Do you think I'm Bob Healey?
Right, exactly. Do you think I have 8 mediocre businesses that I need to attend to while voting on the school board?
Yeah, I have one festival that has survived COVID. I'm good. And yeah, that's the story of Robert Healey and the Cool Moose Party, the most successful third party in Rhode Island history.
It's wild. Good for moose everywhere.
Yeah. You know, I was so worried when I saw the phrase that his political ideology is libertarian and populist, because I promised you a good story. And as soon as I saw that, it's like, oh no, I'm going to have to lie to Una. Yeah. So yeah, any thoughts on Mr. Healey? Healey Moose?
I love the Uruguay connection, because when this started, I was just like, oh, Healey. I think I'm related to some Healeys.
Oh.
Maybe like not Robert's family.
Oh,
but
the Rhode Island Healeys.
The Rhode Island Healeys. No, I'm related to Argentinian Healeys who are down there because a Healey had to get out of Ireland because, I don't know, IRA, you figure it out. And then I think he married like a great aunt of mine. But he made a bunch of money running and selling guns during the Paraguay-Uruguay War.
Yeah, that sounds right.
And then used that money to open up a private Catholic school in Buenos Aires.
Those landlocked motherfuckers, they trying to fuck with Uruguay.
Yeah. You tell him Healey sent you.
Yeah. Get a boat, Paraguay. Yeah, it's, when I read that one of his businesses was importing California wine to Uruguay, I was like, oh, that's not going to go well.
Yeah, from my Chile is right there.
Yeah, Argentina is right across the border, but also Uruguay. Bit of wine dork knowledge. The predominant wine they export from there is this grape called Tannat, and it's if you think Cabernet Sauvignon can be tough to drink, Tannat dares you to finish it. It is. It will suck the water out of your tongue. It is the guy who grunts at Planet Fitness in red wine. It is the most difficult wine to drink.
It's the Malort of grapes.
Right. Well, I mean, I might say that might be chocolate, and that might be like Bosque wine is a bit more in that regard. Okay. But the point stands. And so yeah, he's like, oh, we're bringing California wine down here. It's like, fuck you, man. If I wanted easy to drink bullshit, I'd go to fucking Argentina. I'd go to Patagonia. It's a walk. So yeah, it's a sad ending. It's a really sad ending, but I'm also not shocked that his will was just a hot mess of bullshit.
He died too young. But yeah, wow. Talk about, well, then again, I just assume he was like perfunctory at his law job because he had all of these other schemes going on in the background. They was just like, oh, you want a will? Sure, I'll draft up a will. Here you go.
Yeah.
You know,
I didn't get the impression he was going to court very often. Like, if he was suing the state, he'll be there. But other than that, I don't think he really did court that often.
No, he probably just like pulled together like estates for people while they were alive.
Yeah.
And then, you know, took a easy retainer from it. But so it's not like he would ever like listen to his own advice, because it's not like he was doling out advice either. He's probably figuring out like, well, what do you want X to go to?
Yeah. I will say, as I think a final note, I'm really hopeful this children's book comes out. It's such a cute concept, and knowing like just reading his sense of humor, a cute book of dry comedy for children seems to be a genre that just doesn't exist.
It could do well and then help pay some of these legal fiascos.
God, seriously. Ugh. Well, I'm going to try really hard for next week to also be fun. I have an idea of what I want it to be, but it's going to be a big one. It's going to be one of those, like, we're going to spend a month talking about a guy.
Oh, shit. All right.
Yeah.
One's girded.
But I'm trying to pick the most ridiculous person that I can. But yeah, thank you all for joining us this week, and we'll see you next time on Gadfly. I don't know the sound of moose banks.
Gadfly is a production of Added Serotonin. Our episodes are edited by Brianna Valentine of Rem Alternus Productions. Our theme song is Sophomore Makeout by Silent Partner, and you can find us on Twitter and Instagram at GadflyPod.
Ready to level up your cosplay game? Check out the Geek Forge on Etsy. With a variety of props to give your photos that extra spark, you'll find just what you need. Hold magical fire in the palm of your hand, or take a potion to restore your mana. With a large variety of colors, you can choose your own magical flavor for your cosplay. Bring drama to your photo shoots with these vibrant props and more, all available at the Geek Forge. Are you ready to level up your cosplay?